or high. Estonia, the state located in northern Europe on east coast of the Baltic Sea, washed by waters of the Finnish and Riga Gulfs. In the east borders on Russia. Border extent -324 km. In the south on Latvia. 333 km. In the north in the Gulf of Finland, there passes the sea border with Finland. In the north and the west it is washed by waters of the Baltic Sea. The capital, the city of Tallinn. The area is 45227 square km. The population -1,330,068 people. Thus, Estonia across the territory takes the 129th place in the world, the 29th in Europe, the 158th on the population, the 34th in Europe, and on these indicators is the smallest among the Baltic states. A member of the Union since September 17, 1991, the European Union since May 1, 2004, NATO since March 29, 2004, ODE since December 9, 2010. Member of Council of Europe, 1993. Enters the Schengen area and the Eurozone. Official language, Estonian. Monetary unit, euro. Till the 18th-19th centuries Estonians called themselves Baimaravas, that people of the earth, that is engaged in agriculture literally mean. The term Eestlane came from Latin Eesti. The people inhabiting the distant coast of the Baltic Sea are so named by Tacitus in Germany. Ancient Scandinavian sagas contain a mention of the earth under the name Iceland, so Estonia is called in Icelandic so far that is close to the Danish, German, Netherlands, Swedish and Norwegian version of the name Estland. Early sources in Latin also contain versions of the name of the territory of Estia and Gestia. Estia and Hestia. After declaration of independence in 1918, the country received the name Estonia. Estonia. Under this name it entered in 1921 the League of Nations. Under constitutions of 1920 and 1934 the country was called as the Republic of Estonia. In 1940, with accession to the USSR, the Estonian Soviet Socialist Republic was formed, and after the collapse of the USSR in 1991 the pre-Soviet name was restored. The first human settlements arose in the territory where modern Estonia, in 9600–9500 years BB within so-called Kunski culture is located. By the 10th–13th centuries there was an early feudal structure of society where elders and leaders of military teams were at the head of lands. In the 13th century Crusaders, having suppressed resistance of estates, included their lands in structure of lands of the Livonian Award. From now on Germans within several centuries took in Estonia key positions in power structures, culture, economy and so on. In the 16th century Estonia passed the age of Reformation. From now on the Protestantism became the main religious faith in her territory. In the same century following the results of the Livonian War northern Estonia was a part of Sweden. In half a century in Sweden was included also the southern Estonia. Following the results of Northern War between the Russian Empire and the Swedish Kingdom on August 30 the Nystatsky Peace Treaty. On September 1721 was signed. Sweden recognized accession to Russia of Lithuania, Estonia and other territories, and Russia undertook to pay for these lands to Sweden compensation in 2 million FMK, 1.3 million rubles. After disintegration of the Russian Empire, the southern part of the Governorate of Livonia was a part of Latvia, and a northern part, structure of Estonia. According to a population census of 1897, people lived in the Estliansky province. Estonians made a little more than 90% of them, Russian -4.5% and Germans -3.5%. After disintegration of the Russian Empire on February 24, 1918, it was proclaimed the Republic of Estonia. Independence was reached during Liberating War. On February 2, 1920, Russia and Estonia signed a peace treaty about mutual recognition. On June 15, 1920, the Constitution of the Republic of Estonia is adopted. It came into force on December 21. According to her, Estonia was the parliamentary republic. The Riga became the supreme body of legislature, state, meeting. The first president of Estonia, Konstantin Paets. On September 22, 1921, Estonia became the member of the League Nazi. In September 1939, the Mutual Assistance Pact was signed. On June 22, 1940, the State Duma of Estonia accepted the declaration on the introduction as a member of the Soviet Union, and on August 6, Estonia was included in structure of the USSR. During the period from July 7, 1941 to November 24, 1944, the territory of Estonia was occupied by Nazi Germany. After the Soviet troops freed the territory of Estonia, on her the control of the USSR was regained. The USA and some other countries recognized inclusion of Estonia in the USSR de facto and didn't recognize de jure. In Estonia and other Baltic states and also many others the countries, the period of the Soviet management of the Baltics is called the Soviet occupation. On May 8, 1990, the Supreme Council of the Estonian SUR adopted the law on restoration of operation of the Constitution of the Independent Republic of Estonia of 1938. On August 20, 1991, Estonia confirmed the independence, and on September 17 the same year was accepted anew. On May 1, 2004, Estonia became the member of the European Union and NATO. On December 9, 2010, Estonia, to the first among the post-Soviet countries, became the member of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Since January 1, 2011, Estonia switched to Euro. The area of the country is 45227 square km, extent from the north on the south is 240 km, and from the west on the east of 350 km. It is located in a northeast part of Europe. It is washed from the north by waters of the Gulf of Finland, from the west the Baltic Sea and the Gulf of Riga, borders on Latvia in the south and on Russia in the east. With Latvia, Estonia has overland border. The border with Russia passes down the river Narva, to Chudsky and Skov lakes and across the onshore section with the Skov region. Coastline length -3794 km. 2355 islands in the water area of the Baltic Sea with a total area of 4,200 square km are a part of Estonia. The largest of them, Saaremaa, 2673 square km, and Hiiumaa, 1023.26 square km, and also Muku, 206 square km, Vormsi, 93 square km, Tukkiken, 16.4 square km, etc. Despite a significant area, on islands less than 5% of the population of the country live. The rivers of Estonia are small but are rather deep. Climate of Estonia transitional from moderate and sea to moderately continental with soft winter and in the cool summer. The Atlantic cyclones, because of proximity of the sea always damp, have a great influence on climate. The lakes of Estonia occupy about 5% of the territory of the country. All of them there are more than 1100, almost all of them have glacial origin. According to more exact information, in Estonia about 1200 natural lakes, having the area more than 1 hectare, that is 0.01 km. And they occupy 4.7% of the space of the country. 4 largest islands of the West Estonian archipelago. A high variety of habitats of alver, supportive population of the European mink, have the status of the Biospheric Wildlife Reserve of UNESCO. In total in Estonia 3923 protected natural objects, from which 231 reserves, the 157th Landscape Reserve, 6 national parks, 59 territories with the old or not updated order of protection, 512 parks and forest stands, 319 wildlife areas, 1553 constant habitats, 23 natural objects protected at the level of local governments and 1066 separate protected natural objects, which in total make 23% of the territory of the country. According to the existing constitution adopted in 1992, Estonia is the independent democratic parliamentary republic in which the highest carrier of the power are the people. The legislature belongs to the Riigikogu, unicameral parliament, which port 101 deputies elected on a proportional system during equal and direct elections are. In elections of the parliament elected for 4 years have the right to participate all capable citizens of the country who reached 18 years. The last parliamentary elections took place in March 2019. Each citizen of Estonia who reached the 21st year having the right to vote can stand for the Riigikogu. Elections to the Riigikogu are held on the first Sunday of March for the 4th year after previous. In certain cases, according to the decision of the president, early elections can be announced. Still were never carried out. The exact order of elections to the Riigikogu is established by the law on elections to the Riigikogu. Distribution of seats in the Riigikogu. Reform Party. The structure of fraction -34 deputies. Centrist Party. The structure of fraction -25 deputies. Conservative People's Party of Estonia. The structure of fraction -19 deputies. Otechyestvo Party. The structure of fraction -12 deputies. Social Democratic Party of Estonia. The structure of fraction -10 deputies. The deputies who aren't entering into fractions -1 deputy. The head of state is the president elected for 5 years, but no more than for 2 terms in a row, deputies of the Rigog or the Electoral College during the ballot. The Electoral College consists of deputies of Parliament and delegates of all councils of local governments and is convoked in case any of candidates for president didn't manage to gather the required majority of votes in Parliament. 2/3 of the constitutional structure. The Electoral College elects the President of the Republic by a majority vote. Each member of the Rigog or the Electoral College has 1 voice. Executive power belongs to the government. The government is headed by the Prime Minister, who the leader of the party which won parliamentary elections, and the leader of the parliamentary coalition is. The cabinet is approved by the President on representation of the candidate for Prime Ministers who got approval of Parliament. Supervision of observance of the Constitution and legislation by public authorities is carried out by the Chancellor of Justice, the independent official appointed by Parliament on representation of the President. Economic control over use of the state budget and property carries out other independent body, the State Control. The highest judicial authority, the National Court, courts of the Court of Appeal, district courts, courts of first instance, district courts, city and administrative courts, bodies of prosecutor's office, the State Prosecutor's Office, district prosecutor's offices. All issues of local life are resolved by local governments which work within the law independently, have own budget and the right to establish some local taxes and fees. For example, a tax on advertising, on closing of streets and roads, on pets, on entertaining institutions and actions, a payment for the parking, etc. The main local government is the council, elected for a 4-year term by permanent residents of this municipality. Unlike parliamentary elections, on local elections can vote as well the persons without citizenship and citizens of other countries having the status of the permanent resident. On January 26, 2021, Kaja Kallas became the first woman, the Prime Minister of Estonia. It's remarkable that from 14 ministers in Kallas's government, 7 ministers. Women, that is a record for the country, and the President of Estonia also the woman Kersti Kaljulaid. According to the law, in parties the capable citizens of Estonia and citizens of other countries which are entering the European Union, who are constantly living in Estonia reached 18-year age can consist. For official registration in party, not less than 500 people have to consist. The military personnel who are on active service, judges, prosecutors, police officers and a number of the highest officials of the state. The Chancellor of Justice and his advisors, the State Controller, can't be members of parties. The President of the Republic is obliged to suspend the membership in party, in the presence of it, for the period of execution of functions. The registered parties which were participating in parliamentary elections and collected not less than 1% of votes have the right to financing from the state budget. The sum depends on percent of the received votes. According to data for 2009, in political parties 8% of inhabitants of Estonia consist. 15 counties. Makand, headed by district elders, were appointed for a period of 5 years, the government on representation of the Minister of Affairs of Regions, and subdivided into 79 local governments, among which 15 are city and 64 rural. In the country, 33 settlements have the status of the cities. The capital of Tallinn totals about 400,000 inhabitants. Nearly a third of the population of the country. The second largest city. Nearly 100,000 population. Tartu the third. More than 50,000 population. Narva. In the northeast of the country, polycentric agglomeration with the population about 150,000 people. The largest cities: Narva, Kohtla-Järve, Jovi, Sillamäe and Kiviõli, which is the country's second largest city agglomeration after capital is located. The largest cities of Estonia. City population: Tallinn 426,538, Tartu 93124, Narva 57130, Pärnu 39620, Kohtla-Järve 35187, Viljandi 17711, Rakvere 15526, Maardu 15077, Kirasay 13382, Sillamäe 13288. Among the post-communist countries of Estonia is one of the most developed. On DDD per capita. Face value $23758. The second place after Slovenia, 2019. On DDD per capita. PPS $38540. The third place after Slovenia and the Czech Republic, 2019. The average amount of compensation in Estonia in December 2020 was €1604. As of December 2020, Estonia had the highest among all post-communist countries of the world net average. Euro 1292.12. As of January 1, 2020, the second after Slovenia. Euro 700 in Estonia, Euro 550.38. Net minimum wage. The average amount of compensation. Gross. In Estonia in December 2020 was Euro 1604 and net after a deduction of taxes. €1292.12. Minimum gross. The amount of compensation in Estonia since January 1, 2020 is Euro 584. Minimum net salary minus €550.38. Minimum gross. The amount of compensation in Estonia since January 1, 2022 will be Euro 654. Minimum salary Euro 604.37. One of important spheres of economic activity before World War II was agriculture. At the same time, agricultural products made also an essential share of export. Material-intensive and labor-consuming power industry, civil sea navigation and mechanical engineering developed. In Estonia, as well as in other Baltic states, there were best starting conditions in the USA for creation of market economy. Here extensive innovative potential was saved up. In 1970, the 1980th years, the Baltics were in the lead in the USA on the volume of investment into fixed capital per capita. After restoration independence, the economy of Estonia was reconstructed according to the market principles and reoriented on Western Europe.
On June 20, 1992, Estonia introduced into circulation own national currency, the Estonian krona, instead of the Soviet ruble.
The Estonian krona was tied to DAM, with an exchange rate of 8 kroner for 1 brand.
Acceptance of national currency meant that the Bank of Estonia could issue money in case the country had the stock of foreign currency equivalent to cost of the released Estonian krona.
Since January 1, 1999, the Estonian krona was tied to euro as Germany began to use the all-European currency. Since January 1, 2011, euro is introduced into circulation, completely replacing krona.
A positive role in success of economic transformations in 1991-1993 was played by more than $285 million in foreign loans and the credits, and also the fact that Estonia received more than $100 million from the means of the pre-war republic frozen in foreign banks in 1940 in connection with accession of the country to CCC.
On an indicator of Urge Union, I ranked the country as group developing up to 2000 while there was a formation of market economy.
In 1999, Estonia entered the World Trade Organization. The main trade partners: Finland, Sweden, Germany and Russia. The negative trade balance remains the most serious problem. In 2004, Estonia was included into the European Union. DDD per capita at par purchasing power $32130. 2017. Average monthly salary in 2008 was 12912 kroner. Euro 825. In the third quarter 2009 was 11770 kroner. Euro 752. In the second quarter 2013, the average salary in Estonia was Euro 976, in December of Euro 2020, 1604. During 2005, DDD grew by 60%.
However, during the global economic crisis 2008 it dropped by 3.6%, and in the third quarter 2009 fall of DDD was 15.6% in comparison with the same period of previous year.
During the period from the third quarter 2009 on the fourth quarter 2010, consecutive DDD growth was observed. Real export in the fourth quarter 2010 grew by 53%. In 2010, DDD growth was 3.1%. Thus, in 2010, the Estonian economy recovered from crisis.
Unemployment rate decreased from 12% in 2001 to 4.7% in 2007, but in the third quarter 2009 was already 14.6%, and in the first quarter 2010 rose up to 19.8%.
For June 3, 2011, the level of the registered unemployment in Estonia decreased to 8.7% of economically active population.
According to data of Statistical Office of Estonia, in the fourth quarter 2010 the total number of the unemployed decreased to an unemployment rate minus 13.6%. On decrease in unemployment rate, Estonia took the second place in the EU for 2011. At the beginning of 2009 in the country there was an intensive recession of industrial production.
In February 2009 it was 30% in comparison with indicators of February 2008 that became the biggest decrease in EC.
According to Eurostat,
growth of industrial production in Estonia in September 2010 in comparison with September 2009 was 31.1%. Thus, Estonia took then the first place in the European Union on this indicator. In Estonia also minimum national debt and state budget deficit among all EU countries, and in 2010 it was one of 2 EU countries. The second Malta, which reduced budget deficit. On June 4, 2010 the Secretary-General of ODE, Guria and the Prime Minister of Estonia A. and signed in Tallinn the contract on accession of Estonia to the organization. Transition to Euro, according to the plan of the government of Estonia updated in June 2009, took place on January 1, 2011.
In 2017 the GDP of Estonia in terms of the inhabitant reached 79% of an average value in the European Union. That is a noticeable step forward.
It means that for the first time Estonia was lifted to comparable level with some southern countries of the Eurozone, such as Portugal, which Estonia joined much earlier the European Union. In 15 years which passed from the moment of the entry of Estonia into the EU from 2004 to 2019, the net average amount of compensation grew in the country more than by 3.2 times from Euro 363 to Euro 1162, and the minimum wage grew more than by 3.4 times from Euro 158.50 to 540 Euro.
The GDP of Estonia on PPS from 2004 to 2019 grew twice from $23.79 billion to $46.587 billion.
According to forecasts of Bank of Estonia, the average salary in 2019 will grow by 8.1% up to Euro 1415. And in 2020 for 6.4% up to €1505. According to forecasts of European Commission, the average salary in the Republic by 2022 will be Euro 1628, and in the long-term forecast by 2030, Euro 2364, by 2050, Euro 5166, and by 2070, €10742. Average monthly salary in Estonia in December 2020 was €1604. The average salary in Estonia is higher than in Taiwan. In dollar, about Euro 1357. The poorest country from all 4 Asian tigers. Since January 1, 2020 the minimum wage in Estonia makes Euro 584. Since January 1, 2022 the minimum wage in Estonia will make Euro 654. As of 2020 in Estonia the glass ceiling, in particular a gender gap in compensation, remains a serious problem, and he is observed practically in all spheres of economic activity.
On statistical data, in 2020 hourly gross salary at women was 15.6% lower than at men.
In 2020 in comparison with 2019 the gender gap in compensation decreased by 1.5%, and in comparison with 2013 for 9.2%. In 2020 average hourly gross, the salary of the working women was Euro 7.70. And average hourly gross, the salary of the working men Euro 9.13. The biggest gap in compensation between men and women in Estonia is observed in financial and insurance activity. 29.4%. The mining industry and development of pits. 26.1%. And in the sphere of information and communication. 24.1%. As well as in 2019, only in the unique economic field of activity, the sphere of transport and warehouse economy, women earned more than men.
In 2020, in comparison with 2019, the gap in compensation between men and women in Estonia decreased most of all in the sphere of construction and most of all increased in the sphere of public catering and the hotel sector. The gender difference in salaries pays off subtraction from average hourly gross, the salaries of men of average hourly gross, the salaries of women.
The received value is divided into average hourly gross, the salary of men, and is expressed as a percentage. Average hourly gross salary is calculated without irregular awards and additional payments. In 30 years of independence in Estonia, 4 companies with capitalization in more than $1 billion appeared. The companies: One Horned,
Skype, Bolt, TransferWise and Playtech.
Having decided to invest in development of electronic services from the moment of independence finding, Estonia undertook a number of reforms for the last 30 years. Also at the expense of an attractive business environment, high education level, the favorable environment for distribution of innovations and to the developed sector of electronic services, Estonia could become the attractive country for a startup companies.
Statistics of Tax and Customs Department of Estonia for 2019 shows that at the end of the second quarter 2019 in the Estonian startups 48 people work.
A year ago, at the end of June 2018, the number of employees made 3,369. It shows annual growth in 44%. However, if we look at employees who worked in the Estonian startups within the last 6 months, at least one day, the number is even more. According to the statistics of Estonia for this period, in the Estonian startups worked 7,421 persons. And if to compare it to all economically active population of Estonia, people, we see that every 93rd person in Estonia was somehow connected with startups.
Tallink, the largest company on transportation of passengers and freights in the region of the Baltic Sea and also the largest company of civil sea navigation in the territory of the former USSR.
9,756,611 passengers in 2018. Bolt, the Estonian international transport network company founded and located in Tallinn. The company released a special mobile application for search, e-call and payment of both the taxi and private drivers. In February 2019, Bolt worked in 30 countries and in 50 cities of Europe, Africa, the Western Asia and Australia. Through the Bolt application of a trip, more than 25 million users make, and more than car drivers use it for performance of trips. Zeskse Pank, the Estonian branch of Skandinaviska Enskilda Bank and International Financial Group. Hansa Bank. Since 2009, Swedbank. As of December 31, 2007, total assets of financial group were euro 25.826 billion. The Tallinn port, the third largest port complex on east coast of the Baltic Sea. 41. 3 million tons of freight, 6.76 million passengers, 2006, 27.5 million tons of freight, 8.84 million passengers, 2012. Eesti Energia Kendandest, the enterprise for extraction of slate in the northeast of Estonia, 17.2 million tons in 2015. The Narva power plants, over 10 billion DH in 2006, export to Latvia -1.5 billion DH. Bharat Group, the machine building concern consisting of 65 enterprises, owning the ship repair and metalworking plants in Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia in Ukraine, in Russia and Finland. It earned in the first half of the year 2008, 2.9 billion kroner, 74% of products go for export, vessels, mobile power plants, pontoons, etc. Zest Biochemia Group is the concern of holding type consisting of 8 enterprises. Biochemia Group has in this concern 100% of stocks of subsidiaries. Top -10 The industrial enterprises of Estonia for average number working in 2015 looks as follows. Zest Eesti Energia Kendondest extraction of slate -2538. Zest Ericsson Eesti, the electrotechnical industry -1426. Zest Xcan Estonia. The Rekver meat plant and the Tallinn poultry farm Talig which united in 2014. The meat industry -1284. Zest Abibib mechanical engineering -1057. Zest Norma production of auto parts -856. Zest Pikiki Eesti production of auto parts -766. Zest Enix Eesti, the electrotechnical industry -743. Zest Wender textile plant -667. Zest Eesti Energia Nova Elektrojamat, electricity generation -644. Zest Stora Enso Eesti, the woodworking industry -620. Banks in Estonia. The main building of said bank in Tallinn. Bank of Estonia, the central bank. Swedbank. SEB. Big Bank. Coop Bank. Love Bank. Luminor Bank. Tallinna R Bank. Versa Bank. Besides the banks which are legal entities of the Republic in Estonia work and, including, work with the population. Natural persons. Of representative office of the banks which are foreign legal entities.
In Estonia, administrative and information centers of some international and European organizations and institutes are placed. In November 2012 in Tallinn there began work the headquarters of the IT Agency of the European Union, including which is engaged in support of the Schengen information system of the second generation.
In Tallinn the Center of Cybersecurity of HOTA works. Population for January 1, 2021, 1,330,068 people. By 1990 the population was about 40% higher than before war. 1570,000 to 1122,000 in 1940. At the same time, along with migration from other Soviet republics, also the number of the Estonian population grew. 951,000 in 1940, 830,000 in 1945, 966,000 in 1991, a maximum. From 1992 to 2009 there was a depopulation of the country, which reason was both a Massachusetts emigration and negative natural increase.
By 2008 the population of the country decreased in comparison with 1990 by 14.5%. The number of the Estonian population fell up to 920,885 people.
4.69% in comparison with 1991. In 2010 positive increase in population was reached.
In 2011, according to the Book of the Facts of CIA, natural losses of the population made
0.641%. The 225th place in the world. Ethnic minorities, among which Russians are the largest ethnos of the Republic after Estonians, live in the basic in Tallinn. 52.8% of the population, 66.1% of which are made by Russians.
And in the industrial region in the northeast in the county Ida-Virumaa.
In the city of Narva, about 97% of the population. In other parts of Estonia, Russians prevailed generally in the territories adjoining borders of Russia. In other regions of Estonia, including rural, complete dominance of Estonians. It is a distinctive feature of Estonia from other Baltic states. State language is Estonian. Also, Russian is widespread.
Estonia takes the first place in Europe on the level of contamination of adult population human immunodeficiency virus -1.3% in 2007.
The number of the immigrants living in Estonia by estimates of the Union was reduced to 190,242 people. 14.4% of the population.
In 2019 in comparison with 381,997 Chalavika in 1995.
According to the Register of the Population, people lived in Estonia as of January 1, 2020. The number of apatrides made of them 71051 persons, 1,132,022 people were citizens of Estonia. 85917 of people were citizens of Russia, 10400 of people were citizens of Ukraine, 713 citizens of Nigeria, 619 people citizens of India. Number of refugees made 189 people. 117 were citizens of Syria, 18 citizens of Yemen, 5 citizens of Eritrea and 1 citizen of Libya. According to Eurostat, among EU countries in Estonia and Slovenia the highest growth of life expectancy is noted. In Estonia, one of the lowest levels of child and infantile mortality in the world. According to the World Bank, as of 2019, among member countries of OECD in Estonia the third, after Iceland and Slovenia. The lowest coefficient of child mortality aged up to 5 years, on 1000 live born -2.4, and the sixth lowest in the world.
According to the World Bank, as of 2019 in Estonia the fifth lowest coefficient of neonatal infantile mortality in the world, on 1000 live born -1.1. According to the World Bank, as of 2019 Estonia shares the sixth place in the world along with Finland on the lowest coefficient of infantile mortality aged till 1 year, on 1000 live born.
In both countries it is identical. -1.9. The resident Russian population of Estonia makes 24.3% of the population of the country. Despite social, economic and political changes since the USSR, as of 2021 in Estonia and the neighboring Latvia, the Russian minority in percentage terms, makes the biggest percent of the population among all countries of the world. Persons for whom Russian is native make about 30% and are divided into 3 groups. About 100,000 citizens of Estonia, citizens of Russia, people, and persons without citizenship, 69169 people.
Generally it is descendants of the people who moved to Estonia during the period from 1914 to 1922.
The number of Russians during this period increased from 4 to 8.2%.
And also arrived to Estonia in Soviet period from 1940 to 1991.
The number of Russians during this period increased from 8.2% to 33%. And their descendants.
The number of the Russian population of Estonia according to 2021 was 322,700 people.
In 2021, 156,670 people. 48.5%. Of Russians, 97785 people. 30.3%.
In the county Ida-Virumaa lived in Tallinn, in the capital county of Harjumaa of 184,175 people.
57.1%. In Tartu only, people. 4%. Of the total number of Russians lived in Estonia.
According to the register of the population in Estonia as of 2020, the number of apatrides made 71051 people.
5.3% of the population of Estonia. The number of the citizens of Russia living in Estonia was 83989 people. 6.32% of the population of Estonia. At the Chutsky region. The cities of Kalast and Mustvee, the Volist of Papesiarv.
The Russian Old Believers whose ancestors moved on Estliandai's territory in 18 live.
The 19th centuries. In Estonia for pensioners there are 3 types of grants: SKAs, online system, Kopis, funded pension, and cursed medical indications. For the unemployed there are MPIS programs, the Register of the Unemployed, and STAR, the Register of Social Services and Privileges. For students there is an EHIS program. In total, pensioners minus 422,941, the unemployed minus 38768, occupied minus 629,945. Since April 1, 2021 in Estonia the index of the state pension raised. According to changes, the minimum monthly sum of national pension. It is paid to the persons who don't have the right for an old age pension. Is €255.18 now. The basic part of pension raised up to €235.30, and value every year of seniority, up to €7.206. Since April 1, 2021 the extra charge to pension for education of children increased by €3.55 for one child. In total she mentioned about 203,300 people. Since April 1, 2021 the day rate of a grant on disability at full disability is €15.13. And in a month the size of a grant is €453. At partial working capacity the grant makes 57% of the operating day rate, that is, on average €258 a month. The grant size on CAS's disability on unemployment counts for each calendar month. The monthly allowance on the child as of 2019 makes €60 for the first child, €60 for the second child and €100 for the third child and every one the subsequent. A monthly allowance on the child as of July 2021, one of parents of which undergoes conscription or alternative service makes €900 a month on each child before the end of finding of one of parents on conscription or alternative service. Since 2020, the grant size for the child with an illness of average weight will be Euro 138, for the child with a heavy illness, Euro 161.
Children with a deep illness will begin to receive benefits of Euro 241.
About 130,000 children with limited opportunities live in Estonia. In comparison with 2009, their number grew almost twice. In 2017, benefit for children with an illness of average weight was received by 5,000 children, a grant for children with a heavy illness -7164, a grant for children with a deep illness -732 children. In Estonia, the most long from 100% payment a maternity leave in the world, he makes 62 weeks. By the Estonian legislation, not only mother, but also the father has the right for a maternity leave. Since July 1, 2020, the fatherly holiday from 100% payment makes 30 days. Since January 1, 2013, city public transport of Tallinn became free for all registered residents. In 11 of 15 counties of Estonia since July 1, 2018, passengers can use buses free of charge. Since May 1, 2004, Estonia is the member of the European Union, and since January 1, 2011 and the Eurozone.
Estonia is one of 3 former republics of the USSR integrated into the all-European market and the Schengen space, and also the first of the post-Soviet countries which switched to single European currency and refused independent monetary policy.
Membership in the European Union also means a priority of regulations of the EU over interstate legal norms. In case of a contradiction of the last 2 acts of the European Union, all union norms are applied. Since March 29, 2004, Estonia is also a member of NATO. Is involved in military missions of NATO in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Parliament of Estonia allowed to send on May 7, 2003 the military personnel to Iraq. On June 20, 2003 the first professional soldiers of